We're more than halfway through the season, and the Dodgers' high-priced offseason signings this year aren't living up to the hype. Is it the weakest free agent class in the Andrew Friedman era?
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Are these the weakest results we've seen so far for the Dodgers offseason additions in recent history? We preview a crucial battle in the Bay as the Dodgers take on the Giants, and we break down the bullpen struggles with Kirby Yates and Tanner Scott in today's show, which is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. I'm Harry, he's Travis, and we're both diehard, lifelong Dodgers fans and also members of the sports media. I'm the Spanish play-by-play radio announcer for both the Las Vegas Raiders and the USC Trojans football team. You can catch Travis every morning from 9 to noon on ESPN LA 710 and on the ESPN LA app, hosting the Travis and DeMarco show. Time to close this week strong, Travis.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Dodgers, they finally had a day off. They had a stretch of 15 games in 16 days. That's grueling, where once the competition went up, the production went down. And with that, they suffered back-to-back sweeps to Houston and Milwaukee. I know that injuries have played a big part in this, but we also start seeing the holes in the roster. And a part of that is the big offseason signings that they had aren't producing the way we, and I'm guessing the front office expected with the big contracts a lot of them received. I know there's 68 games away from the end of the season, but so far, is this 2025 free agent class the most disappointing in the Andrew Friedman era?
Well, it's certainly, Harry, different than the other ones that they've had, because I think one of the hallmarks of Andrew Friedman and his tenure, not just here in Los Angeles, but really going back to his time in Tampa, is that way more hits than misses. And this is one of the first seasons in a long time. Look, no one's going to bat 1,000. If you make deals, if you sign free agents, if you make trades, you're going to miss occasionally. You just hope to make more than you miss on. And certainly the Dodgers have accomplished that. But this is the first season in a while where you kind of look around at where the money went and where it was spent. And, you know, I'm sure you heard the same refrains that I've heard. You know, the Dodgers are ruining baseball. They're buying themselves a pennant, and this is why it needs a salary cap, and all the things that people say about, you know, things when they don't get what they want and the other guy does. But this is, you know, I said it at the time, and Blake Snell loved it, and Tanner Scott loved it. Kirby Yates loved it. Michael Conforto liked it, and it was all of these sorts of things. But I said in the moments, I said, listen, this usually doesn't work. When you just go out and say, I'll take him, I'll take him, I'll take him, I'll take him. And we've seen it in football, we've seen it in basketball, and now we're seeing it in baseball, that when you go out and try to buy these things, think like the Ravens a million years ago, the Washington at the time Redskins a million years ago, the Lakers with Gary Payton and Karl Malone and those guys. Like, it's like, oh, they're going to run away. It doesn't work. And so it's really hard to just go out in free agency and build these things. Now, it's really early. I still expect Blake Snell to be a big part of what they're doing. I know we're going to talk about this coming up later. I still like what Tanner Scott has done most of the season. The Conforto thing, it's really hard to call it anything other than a miss. It really has not worked out. Kirby Yates is probably somewhere between a miss and a success. So yeah, there really isn't anything you can point to and say, well, at least that has gone the way you wanted. And that's new in the Dodger regime. Usually when they do something, it's mostly good and maybe one or two things that are so-so. And this is one or two things that are so-so and a lot of things that have been a miss. So this is a new experience for Dodger fans.
Yeah, and you go to the last couple of years that it seemed like the free agency always had one big name and then complementary pieces. This year, they went for Blake Snell, who just won the Cy Young in 2023 with the San Diego Padres. They went for a Tanner Scott and a Kirby Yates, both players who last year were all-stars. They were all-stars.
Yep.
2024, and they arrived to the Dodgers with a lot of fanfare. Tanner Scott with a big contract, Kirby Yates on a one-year deal, but you were expecting them to be that back end of the bullpen, where I remember back in February and March, we were saying this Dodgers bullpen is going to be unstoppable when you have Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates, you got Blake Trinan, Michael Kopech, who it's going to be pick your poison, and you can use
Evan
4
Phillips.
different closers. Evan
Yeah.
Phillips, who
Yeah.
unfortunately is hurt and out for the season, but you were like, man, this is a dream right there.
It felt like there was, all the names that you mentioned. Throw Phillips in there, throw Gratterall in there. There are so many guys like, okay, all of these guys can't go bad. Well, here we are, and they're either hurt or underperforming. Yeah, I think that the Yates one was kind of a okay, let's see what if there's one more good year in there. He's not a young player. He's been around a long time, and he's a good player. But this is not somebody that was entering their prime. This is somebody who's probably hoping for another good year or two along the way, trying to jump onto a really good team and see what happens. So that one felt to me more like a hey, let's hope that there's a little bit more in there. Relief pitchers are notoriously inconsistent from one year to the next. The reason that Mariano Rivera is Mariano Rivera, and Trevor Hoffman is Trevor Hoffman, and really, quite frankly, Kenley Jansen is one of those guys that just are good every year, year after year. Really rare. Usually, it's good year, bad year, mediocre year, good year. It's kind of all over the map. Tanner Scott has been that for a good chunk of his career. That they went 4 years with him was kind of a that's kind of interesting moment. We'll see. I know we'll talk about some Scott coming up in just a bit. The one that I think is. And I don't want to go as far as to say disappointing because, like you mentioned a second ago, Harry, there's still a lot of baseball left to be played. And he could still turn out to be an incredibly important part about what they're doing. Blake Snell, for all intents and purposes, hasn't even played this year. He pitched opening day at Dodger Stadium and was okay against the Tigers. He pitched once more after that and wasn't very good. And we haven't seen him since. He's made 2 starts, and one of them barely lasted, even a couple of innings. So, we really haven't gotten a look at it. Here's what I know about that guy, though. He competes like crazy. He wants to be out there. He is ruthlessly competitive. So I'm optimistic there. Hopefully he comes back soon. We just saw that Glasnow came back, that he's supposedly, not too far off. But I think that's really the big one. Because we've seen Scott and Yates kind of go up and down a little bit, I think we have more of a visceral reaction. Like Snell, it barely even feels like he's been a part of the team because he just hasn't played at all.
Yeah, I remember making the trip for opening day in LA, and it was like, hey, I'm going to get to watch Snellzilla pitch. And
Yeah.
that's literally been half of his tenure with the Dodgers. He
Yep.
had a rehab start on Thursday with Rancho Cucamonga, and hopefully we get him back after the All-Star break. But like I said, those I mentioned the pitchers right there. We also got Michael Conforto, another free agent signing who has been mostly down than up.
Yeah.
Ha-Seong Kim, who hasn't received as many opportunities as a lot of fans want him to see, but also he's been out there now for a while, and you see pitchers start knowing what he likes to chase, and they're starting to go and pound the zone in the area that he doesn't like. Roki Sasaki, unfortunate situation as well, where he's been injured more than not, but he was another big name that it was like the Dodgers, man, they're getting everybody. And look at those names. Most times than not, you're like, hey, that's a great crop of offseason signings. Unfortunately for the Dodgers, being July 11th, they haven't produced much for the team.
No, I'm glad you brought those guys up. I'll be honest, Harry. I had almost forgotten about the commotion that when they signed Sasaki. It's like, oh my gosh, they got another one. Now, I'll say this about Sasaki specifically. People that were paying attention knew that that was a project. I know that he has, electric stuff, that he has an incredible potential and an incredible upside, but people that know baseball and people that were paying attention, they're like, this is not Yamamoto. Yamamoto came over here as a fully flowered professional pitcher in the second best league in the world. He had won the equivalent of their Cy Young Award 3 times. Like this was a guy that was as polished as you could get. And so him coming over and it's like looking like a finished product, you're like, yeah, okay. That's not what Roki Sasaki is. He is just getting started. So that he's had a little bit of a up and down flow, I think is to be expected. And I think under perfect circumstances, had the Dodgers not been opening the season in Japan, I don't even know if he pitches in the big leagues this year. They might have started him in the minor leagues and slowly on-ramped him. So I will give him a little grace. Kim was another one that was supposed to be a lot of glove, a lot of speed, and we don't know if he can hit or not. He started the season in the minor leagues. He came up and was pretty successful, but that he's kind of had some up and downs. I'm okay with that one too, because that's kind of what my expectation was for him. Let's see if he can hit. I think you said it well. We knew he was going to struggle with velocity. We knew that once they kind of figured him out, they would exploit it. This is the best league in the world. They've really punished him when it comes to at-bats, but there have been moments where he's been really good. So I'm optimistic that he'll figure that out. The Conforto one is the one that's kind of like, yeah, man, I don't know. There's just really isn't even a silver lining there. I can't say he's still learning. He's, there's ups. He's a vet that just has not hit all season long. I think they'll give him this much more time to try to figure it out. But, whenever the manager says this is a crucial month for you, the clock is ticking pretty loudly. And that's what Dave said coming into July. So the Conforto thing, I think, has an expiration date, and I think it's pretty soon.
Patience worked with Paez and with Muncy. It
Yep.
hasn't worked so far with Conforto. So the question was, is the 2025 free agent class the most disappointing in the Andrew Friedman era? Let's go back in time from 2020 all the way to 2025. In 2020, Blake Trinan and Alex Wood, free agent signings. I'll say with those two guys, you can't say a disappointment with the World Series title.
Agreed.
2021, Brandon Morrow, Tommy Canley, Trevor Bauer. I know that Bauer situation ended up being one very bad for the team, but when he was on the mound, he was productive for the Dodgers.
I agree. That blew up, but it wasn't because he didn't pitch well. It was for other stuff.
Yeah, 2022, Andrew Haney, Daniel Hudson, Hanser Alberto, Tyler Anderson, Kevin Pillar, and a guy by the name of Freddie Freeman. Game 1, 2024 World Series, that paid off his whole contract.
Yeah, Freeman and Anderson, both really good signings for the Dodgers. And there you go. That's a great example of two guys that hit big.
2023, Shelby Miller, Jason Hayward, and Noah Syndergaard, JD Martinez, David Peralta. JD did pretty good with the Dodgers, but you look at all the other guys, and it's mostly down and not up.
Yeah, that's like, I think you nailed it. JD Martinez was really good for the Dodgers. The rest of that was fairly forgettable.
And 2024, Shohei Ohtani. That's
Stop.
it. I ain't even.
Yeah, we're done.
I ain't even gotta say nothing else. And still, Tyler Glasnow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Teoscar Hernandez, James Paxton, Ryan Brazier too. When you compare those classes to the 2025, I know that there's still time left, but I can't say, hey, the 2025 class is stronger than the other ones in performance-wise so far. Hopefully they can pick it up, and we can point to another one as being weaker.
Look, if Blake Snell is healthy and comes back and pitches in September and October and pitches really well, we're not even going to remember what happened through the first 4 months of the season. We're going to remember he was part of a playoff run and maybe a World Series championship, and we'll be going, way to go. If Michael Conforto sticks around, we'll see he gets a big hit in October. We'll be saying, way to go. This is not over. This book has not been written. We're at about the halfway point, and underwhelming so far, and I know it's coming up, but the bullpen guys, I think, are the guys that have the best opportunities to redeem themselves.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a pair of names, Blake Snell, Michael Conforto. They used to be in the Bay last year, and now the Dodgers, they're heading out there. LA versus San Francisco, Dodgers, Giants. That's a rivalry right there, and they go at it this weekend. In just a moment here on Locked On Dodgers, we preview everything from the pitching matchups to the batters on the lineup.
Get the supplies you need from the site made for skilled trades, Supply House. So whether you are in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their super easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done and get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you're going to find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you will always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, so now it is your turn. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off of your first order. That's supplyhouse.com.
Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but also on X, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. And let us know your predictions for this series for the weekend between the Dodgers and the Giants. I mean, Travis, if you're a diehard Dodgers fans, yes, we enjoy Dodgers Padres nowadays with what the little brother thinking they can swing at big bro. But if you're a Dodgers fan, that you can't stand the Giants. I can't tell you what I say every time I see a Giants logo whenever I'm walking on the street, because then we'll get demonetized on YouTube and on all
Right,
podcast platforms. And my
right.
girlfriend's like, "How can you see the logo that far?" It's because I detest it. I can't
It's
stand the
visceral.
Giants.
Yeah, no, look, all I have to do is Dodger fans of a certain age, and I'll give it up. I'm 53 years old. And so this happened when I was, let me think here, I was 11. Okay. And it still feels like it happened a minute ago. Is Joe Morgan at the end of his career running around with his fist in the air after hitting a home run off of Terry Forster. The Giants were dreadful, dreadful. A last place team. The Dodgers need to win on the last day of the season. They're in San Francisco, and the Giants knock them off. Never gotten over it. Little bit of payback many years later when Mike Piazza did the same thing to them, where the Dodgers were out of it. The Giants were competing with the Braves for an NL West title, had already won over 100 games. They needed to win on the last day of the season. The Dodgers punched their ticket on the last day to knock them out. So it goes way back before that. It goes all the way back to the other coast in New York. It's a great rivalry. I love it. I'm looking forward to it. And there's a little extra juice because while the Dodgers still have, a 5-game lead in the division, they're kind of reeling. The Giants have, shaved about half of that lead off. It was nearly 10 games about a week or so ago, and it's tightened up a lot. So certainly an opportunity for them to close the gap even more heading into the All-Star break.
And I'm knocking on wood. I don't know if you could hear that, but if another sweep happens and the Giants win 3 against the Dodgers, they'll be 2 games back going into the All-Star break from LA. And like I said, I hope that doesn't happen, because then the pressure is on and you start feeling the fire up, where to start getting results. Me personally, I remember when I was a season ticket holder going to Dodger Stadium opening day, it seemed like we were getting the Giants every single season. And it was Clayton Kershaw versus Tim Lincecum. And then you got Matt Cain, and then you got Madison Bumgarner. And Kershaw was always the guy on there in the bump. And then later you started getting Johnny Cueto against Walker Buehler. But it's like always that history, especially after the Giants won 3 World Series in a 5-year span. It made them even more unbearable that you couldn't even see Giants fans, because they loved showing off those rings and showing off those titles. That's why I really hope the Dodgers win this year. That way we can say, all right, from 2020 to 25, we got 3.
Yeah, it would even the ledger a lot, and it doesn't matter how old you are. You could be older than me, younger than me. You could be my kids' age. You have my kids are in their teens and 20s, and they have the go get it out of the ocean moment. There's just all of these great moments in this rivalry, and hopefully we get a few more. Hopefully, like you said, they go the Dodgers way, but they get Logan Webb coming up on Friday. And, you mentioned all of those great pitchers, going back to Lincecum and Cain, and certainly Bumgarner was one of those guys. You can throw Logan Webb right in there too, as one of the best in the business, and not the guy you want to see when you're riding a 6-game losing streak.
Yeah, and it feels bad. So I'm a diehard Raiders fan, and I call their games. Logan Webb is a diehard Raiders fan, and I still got that, man, I know you're a Raider fan, but I can't cheer for you because you're a Giant. And I got that kind of rivalry where it's like, no, the Giants simply no. So game 1, Friday night, tonight, Dustin May gets on the mound versus Logan Webb. May coming off of his best outing so far this season. Let's see if he's able to pick it up and stay that way for the Dodgers. And May, when he came back, he didn't look as well, because now against the White Sox, of course, there was a great bounce back game. 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 runs in a 6-2 win. That's the kind of Dustin May that you want to see, because you've also seen him struggle with 4 runs earned against the Royals. And then against Washington, he took the L. Against the Giants, he got the win. 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned. It's been a roller coaster with him since his return, but now he gets to go against one of 2 starters for the Giants that are all-stars this season. And Logan Webb, he deserves to be an all-star. He's up there performing as one of the top pitchers in baseball.
Yeah, and, with May specifically, Harry, there's one thing that I always look at when he's pitching, and it's strike one. When he gets ahead, he's really tough. When he doesn't, he becomes very average very quickly. That when he is pounding the zone, and it's unfair to compare really anybody to Tarek Skubal in the way that he's throwing the baseball over the last couple of seasons, but I also think he happens to be the best example of this. He is just in the strike zone over and over again. And it seems like everybody that comes up to bat is 0-1, 0-2, 1-2. And in the major leagues, you're not going to get a lot of hits 0-2, 1-2. With Dustin May, it seems there's a lot of 2-1s, 1-0, 3-1s, and he's pitching from behind. He's pitching defensively, and he's not attacking the zone. So that's something I like to see in the game on Friday. That's something I'd like to see him do going forward. I thought it was interesting that, going back to what we saw with Glasnow in Milwaukee, I thought that Dave Roberts said something really interesting. There was none of this searching early in the game, that he got into the strike zone early. And Glasnow's, another one of those guys with great stuff. If he gets ahead, he's going to be able to get guys out of there. And I look for an aggressive Dustin May. When he's ahead and he's pounding that strike zone, he's really tough. When he's behind, he isn't. So it's not complicated. You kind of know what you're going to get from him from the jump. When he's ahead, he's really good. If not, buckle up for a different sort of game.
Saturday afternoon, this game is exclusively on Roku, I believe. Shohei Ohtani plus Emmett Sheehan versus Landon Roop, the curveball thrower. This one I feel is the best chance for the Dodgers to get themselves back in a position where they can start feeling themselves and being back where in a winning way, because Dustin did good against the White Sox, but man, you go against Logan Webb, it's going to be a situation similar to Mizrowski over in Milwaukee, where you need a shutout to be able to win that kind of game.
Yeah, look, the Dodgers are if they're going to win these games, they're going to have that offense come alive at some point. And Ohtani has been terrific when he's been on the mound, so I expect him to, he's going to give you a couple innings, but he's not going to be able to win the game on the mound. He might get you off to a good start by putting up a couple of zeros along the way, but that Dodger offense is going to have to come alive at some point. And kind of, conversely to what we were talking about with Dustin May, I think the Dodger offense needs to kind of go a little bit in a different direction. They've been striking out a ton. They've been behind in a lot of counts. I would love to see them, whether it's against Logan Webb or any of these other guys, get into that pitch count. Make these guys be into the 60s and 70s and beyond by the sixth inning, and get into that bullpen. Because when the Dodgers get to those secondary guys, they eat. They really can feast on some of those guys. And the sooner you get into them in a series, if you can get into that bullpen guy on Friday and get into those guys on Saturday, by the time you get to them on Sunday, you're at guys that they do not want to have to throw against you, and you can really get healthy there. So I think it's really important that offense kind of takes a similar approach. Be a little patient, make sure that guys throw a lot of pitches and make them earn it, because the offense has been kind of the soft spot for them over the last week. There's been some ugly performances, don't get me wrong. An 18-run game is not necessarily, but they only scored 1 run in that game too. The Dodger offense has been really quiet during this skid.
Absolutely. And then you look at the way that in the final game they approached at bats, being a little bit more patient. You don't have Max Muncy, who's the ultimate guy up in the box that takes a lot of pitches, extends at bats. But now the team started taking that approach, and they were able to get base runners with walks. If they're not hitting the ball, at least walk your way on base. And they were able to do that. And one final note on Shohei. It's crazy to think, if it weren't for a bad call from the umpire in his first outing, he wouldn't have allowed a single run from then all the way until now. And then also, will he get to pitch an extra inning, or will they keep him at 2, which has been his limit the last 2 games?
I'd love to see him stretch him out a little bit. I also understand if they decided not to, especially with the break coming, let's be super cautious that as much as we'd like to see them break this skid and all that, that is not the goal. The goal is to get into the playoffs. The goal is to have everybody healthy in the playoffs. So if the goal is to really kind of baby step this along the way, I'm okay with that too. I think, you mentioned it, talking about Ohtani and the bad call, and he wouldn't give up a run. I was talking about this on my radio show the other day. It's so weird to me, Harry, that we're almost already taking the extraordinary from this man for granted. He went 50-50 last year. We're like, okay, cool. He wins the MVP last year. Okay, cool. You win the World Series in his first year. It's like, yeah, that was awesome. And this year, and let me go back. He sets the Dodger record for home runs in a single season of 54. Becomes the first Dodger ever to hit 50 or more home runs in a season. He's on pace to tie his own record in the second year. He just broke the record with Cody Bellinger for most home runs prior to the All-Star break. He's on the mound looking not just like he's pitching again, he looks like he's one of the best pitchers in baseball again. It's like, yeah, he's having a good year. Hold the phone. It's not a good year. It's an exceptional year. It's a year like we really haven't seen before, or at least in a very long time. And the only other time we've seen it before was when he was doing it down the road in Anaheim. So take a minute to appreciate what it is we're seeing with this guy, because even though it becomes a little routine because he does it as often as he does, it is still an exceptional performance on a regular basis.
Watching him strike out the side against the Astros in the second inning, I was there.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was a show. And now I can't wait to see him on Saturday. And closing the show out in the Bay before the All-Star break, Yoshinobu Yamamoto versus Robbie Ray. That's two aces going at it, and hopefully we get a great battle. You had Robbie Ray just last week, July 3rd, versus the Diamondbacks. He pitched all 9 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, both of them off of solo home runs, and he's back in the All-Star game. Yoshinobu Yamamoto going into his first All-Star game. Obviously, they won't get to pitch in the All-Star game because they are closing the series on Sunday, but that can be a spectacle, and I hope it is, and it's not a replay of what we saw in Milwaukee where Yoshi didn't get out of the first inning.
Yeah, I think that's it right there. I think that you're looking for him to bounce back after a rough inning. You mentioned the call against Ohtani in his opening start and how one call can kind of shape the way that things go. Don't get me wrong, Yamamoto was not good in Milwaukee, but a couple of balls go a little bit differently, and he's out of that first inning, and things, who knows what happens for there. So it was bad. I'm not trying to pretend it wasn't bad, but it wasn't.
The Mookie Betts error?
The Mookie Betts, it wasn't like they were putting balls into Bernie Brewer's slide one after the next. It wasn't that. He was a little unlucky, and he wasn't very good. So let's see a bounce back from that. Let's see, the Dodgers tighten up a little bit defensively. But, when it comes to Yamamoto, like we were talking about at the beginning, I don't sweat him too much. He is just a pro in every sense of the word. When he's on, Dodgers win. It really is that simple, and I expect him to be on again. He's a guy that every time he goes out there, I expect the Dodgers to have a good night. He's that good. Everybody has a clunker now and again, but I'm a huge fan of his, and I think that he's about as close to money in the bank as you're going to find.
We just need to get him some run support because it seems like it's the Kershaw treatment from back in the day. It's like, hey, we'll score 1 or 2, you throw a shutout. Kirby Yates, Tanner Scott, they were all-stars in 2024, but when you see their numbers in 2025, it seems like LA got the Temu versions of these high-leverage relievers. We dive deep into them coming up next on Locked On Dodgers. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands instead of your couch. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. Food, drinks, and merch keep getting more expensive at stadiums. Well, you can splurge on them now with the money that you save on your tickets because Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch or the start of a concert. Getting incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and the lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Seat views are right there on the app before you buy, so you know exactly where you'll be. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app today, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. Thanks for making us your first listen wherever you may be via your favorite podcast app or on our YouTube channel. Turn on your notifications. That way you'll get the heads up the moment a new episode or a short video drops with the latest Dodgers news. Last time we saw Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates, they were giving up the game tying and the walk-off runs respectively in the Dodgers loss in Milwaukee, getting swept. And unfortunately, it's not the first time we see them coming into games in big spots to give up a lead. I know it's not even 100 games through the season. We're barely going into the All-Star game. But personally, when you see Tanner Scott having 16. What's the number? What's the exact number? He's blown 6 saves. He leads the
Yeah.
majors in that stat. And he's got 18 saves, which is top 10 in that category. That means his save to blown save ratio is 3-1. For a guy getting a big deal like him, I feel like it shouldn't be that way. And I'm losing my patience, but I know that he can come big in a big spot. But so far, I haven't seen it as consistently as I want right here, Trav.
Yeah, the consistency has not been, I think, what anybody was hoping for. I kind of tend to see it a little bit differently. I think that the most of his struggles, Harry, were early, were when he was going, and he wasn't pitching well, and you could tell he was struggling. And I'm a guy that kind of looks at baseball through the lens of pitching. I kind of start there and go outward. When you're walking guys and when you're behind, you're in deep trouble. And early in the season, he was walking guys and he was behind guys and he was in trouble, because then you got to come in, and then when they know that they can hunt one pitch, you're not going to have a ton of success. Then he kind of settled in and he was really good for about 6-8 weeks or so. The night in Milwaukee the other night, it wasn't his best night, but again, this was more bad results than it was bad pitches. There was a broken bat hit that brought in the tying run. Then none of these balls were really squared up and scorched. It's not like they were splitting gaps and hitting home runs against the guy. When it comes to, sometimes you get a little unlucky in stretches. So I don't worry about him too much. There isn't a ton of loud contact against him. And when he's getting ahead, he's pretty good. Yates, on the other hand, I think is a little bit of a different story. Guys seem pretty comfortable in the box against him. They're getting different sorts of swings. So I'm with you on the Yates thing not looking quite right, but I'm still on the Tanner Scott side of things. I'm still optimistic, and part of the reason they got him was so Shohei never had to face him. So that's still true, but hopefully he's better in the second half. Certainly more consistent, because early part of the season he was really struggling. But I still think when the ball comes out of his hand, seeing the way that he attacks, I still think he's going to be the right guy at the moment.
Here are some stats from Tanner Scott. 3.86 ERA, his highest since 2022. Career high 7 home runs allowed in 2025 versus 3 both in 2023 and 24. More runs and earned runs allowed than last year, and he has played 43 games with the Dodgers versus a combined 72 between the Marlins and the Padres. I know a lot of those home runs happened earlier in the season, but you put the final product together and you see those stats. Right. I know that the numbers don't tell you the full story. You got to watch the games and you got to be observant. But for a guy with a big price tag attached to him, I feel like he just still hasn't. I know we went through the Kenley Jansen era where you had very high highs and very low lows. And I feel like I hope we get a closer that's just a stable. You're not going to get Mariano Rivera, but hopefully we can get something up there where that he's coming in. It's a done deal.
I think in a perfect world, he is not the guy that is pitching the most important inning of the game in the postseason. In a perfect world, that's Blake Trinan. In a perfect world, when he comes back, you saw it last year, that the way that the Dodgers matched up, that Trinan was the guy that went in there when the game was on the line. And sometimes the game's on the line in the 9th inning, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes the game is on the line in the 7th inning or the 8th inning. We saw the Dodgers deploy Michael Kopech early in games, 2nd, 3rd, 4th inning. Sometimes it's like, hey, no, that's where those, the 2, 3, 4, 5 guys are coming up. You got to go face those guys. So we'll see what it looks like. I'm optimistic. I understand the numbers are what they are. Trinan, I think, is their best swing and miss guy. He's still working his way back. Hopefully he's getting a little closer. I know he's had a long history of not being able to stay on the field. When he is on the field, he's absolutely terrific. But I think when they get to it, they're going to be okay. And, like you said, who knows? We're what is today? The 11th is probably, most people are listening to this, that you've got 20 days to the trade deadline. So there's a little bit of time if something shakes loose. The Dodgers have always been very aggressive there. So maybe there's an opportunity there. But I'm still mostly optimistic with Scott.
And a quick look at the bullpen going into the Giants series. Banda, Kasparius, Dreyer, Klein, Scott, Trevino, Vesia, Yates. Out of these 8 guys, personally, I feel good when Kasparius goes on the mound, when Dreyer goes on the mound, when Vesia goes on the mound. The other 5, I don't know what to expect. You could either get good or bad. But then you that's my opinion right there, Travis. But then you look, Blake Trinan, He just he pitched the perfect inning with OKC on Wednesday. No hits, 2 strikeouts, 12 pitches, 8 strikes. 95
Yep.
to 96 mile per hour sinker looked good. Velo's good. Michael Kopech, unfortunately, he underwent surgery to repair a meniscus tear. Dave Roberts expects him to return, but he's on the 60-day IL. Brusdar Graterol, he's going to have a rehab assignment sometime next month. Those are 3 guys that if you put them in the bullpen, I feel that you upgrade that position. And also, I'm a big robo guy, Robleski. I think that he can get brought back up from AAA and included in that bullpen, and you feel better having those guys compared to what you have right now.
I think you make a really good point that some guys who are pitching like starters will be relievers when it comes down to it. And whether that's a May, whether that is a Robleski, whether that's a Kasperius, or, maybe even a guy like Emmett Sheehan, who all of a sudden, maybe he's not taking the ball in the first inning, but they're eating up some innings in the middle of the game. I think that's a very likely scenario. That the guys that you mentioned, I'm with you on all. I think the only one that we kind of are on different pages on is Scott, but Vezia, I really like. That Dreyer has looked good. Kasperius has looked good. The rest of those guys, Banda, who was terrific for the Dodgers last year, has kind of been a little bit more inconsistent this year, but veteran guy, been around a long time. You'll give him a second, third, fourth, 10th look along the way. But there's a lot of options there. There's still a lot of innings to cover over the way. And again, the other part too, Harry, never forget, they were asked to do a lot early in the season. That the starting pitching was so inconsistent, and so many guys went down that they were covering 5, 6, sometimes 7 innings a night, and no one really can go through 7 innings through half a season and not have some hiccups and some bad nights. So I think as the starting pitching gets better, as you ask less of the bullpen moving forward, they'll get better. And by the time you get to that October, sprint, guys are back to where you expect them to be.
And look, I hope when we come back next week, we have the comments spammed of people saying, Harry Ruiz, you were wrong. Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates were awesome in the Bay Area, and they helped us win games. But for now, that's it for today. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Nights. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Time flies, and that's the end of the week. Travis and I will be back on Monday to talk about the boys in blue and their performance up in the Bay. Let's go get some wins, Travis.
Let's do it.
Take care and go blue.